was talking to my shrink back when I was going through my divorce. I said, such a loser of a man, such a failure. My marriage has ended. And ever since I was in high school and I decided not to join the football team, I've always been a loser. And my shrink said, what's your first memory of football? And I was like, oh, yeah. Now I remember. I was in ACES training as a teacher, and they taught us that what happens in childhood matters a whole lot. So I told her the story. I was 10 years younger than my cool older cousin. He was the star running back of the football team. And at the end of the season, end of his 12th grade season, my second grade year, he brought me his number 20 jersey. And I got to wear it. And then he went off to the Marines. So yeah, football to me stands for badassery. And then when I was in high school, my team made it to the state championship. We're the first school to set foot on the new Ford Field because Division 8 played before anyone else, before the big time schools. And so is my little school from the Northwoods up against Muskegon Catholic Central, starring future UFC fighter Tony Ferguson. And my tiny school was not able to defeat Muskegon Catholic Central and future UFC star Tony Ferguson. But it's something I'll always remember, especially when it was my time to shine. And I set foot on Ford Field and I got ready to play my alto horn. Burr, 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 burr. El Capitan, the school song. But no, I've always loved football. My dad took me to see Joe Montana and Jerry Rice win at Lambeau Field when I was young. And I've always wanted to take my son to Packers Lions. I'd love it. When he was young, he turned Madden on and he scrolled through all the logos and he picked the Cardinals. He loved the red cartoon Cardinal logo, so we bought him a Cardinal hat. And then we were watching a Thanksgiving game, Lions-Bears. And he was little and he said, who's winning? I said, the Bears. And he said, Bears are my team. He got a little older and he looked around and the kids across the street loved the Packers and the kids in his class loved the Packers and every other truck in town's got a Packers sticker on it. He goes, I like the Packers. So does everyone. And finally this year, he says, all right, Dad, Lions and Cardinals are my number one. Packers suck. I said, attaboy, buddy. If the economy ever turns around, I'm going to take you to Lambeau Field. We're going to watch Kirby Joseph do his thing. Times are tight. I don't see it in my future. Lions are playing too well. Supply and demand, man. They are offering a superior product. It is no longer $17 to go sit in the front row with a bag over your head on Thanksgiving. Lions are a hot ticket. I had to work, save up some pennies, pay off some credit cards, pay off some student loans and some auto loans. But if I ever get back to the place where I've got spending money, I'd love to take my son to Lambeau Field. Packers Lions. It'd be a great time. College, I went to Grand Valley. David Kirkus, Kurt Ains, Coach Kelly. It was a fun time. And I remember Steve Mariucci being on ESPN or NFL Network. He was the coach of the Lions. And I wanted to call in. I don't know if he was taking call-ins or not. And I wanted to say, hey, Coach, I'm from up near the Northwoods, just like you. Steve Mariucci and Tom Izzo grew up not far from here. They come up every summer to do a fundraiser for their charity house. And who knows how many other times. The Spartans played at the Superior Dome last winter. It was great. Those guys are great for the small town, great for our community. But I wanted to call in and say, hey, Coach, David Kirkus, we could use a wide receiver. He'd be a great day 3 pickup. But I didn't. I did, though, call in to the Woodward Heavyweights one time. They were gracious enough to let me, and I was begging them in the chat. I said, put me on. And they finally did, and I got nervous, and I had never heard my own voice on radio. So I said their catchphrase, "What up, though?" Then I had to say my catchphrase from the Northwoods, "How she go?" And I think I kept repeating myself back and forth, and never really got to the point. But my point was, the discussion at the time was, does Brad Holmes cash in for Chase Young? Whatever picks it takes, first rounder, second rounder, it's got an expiring contract. Do we put it all on the line for the last 8 games? Or do we stash those picks? And Easy and Spencer were arguing that we mortgage the future and go all in. And I said, don't you think we should have some patience? Don't you think we should trust that Brad Holmes is making the right decision? And they said no. And I said yes. And they were right and I was wrong. I know this because Chase Young played in the NFC Championship game that year. And Chase Young's team won the NFC Championship game that year. So Chase Young played in the Super Bowl. Niners beat the Lions because the Niners grabbed Chase Young's expiring contract. And even nowadays, it's a fun discussion to have with Woodward Sports. Do we want one Super Bowl appearance, or do we want this long-term sustained success? And it's a very smart and it's a very elevated conversation, and I dig it. And Spencer and Easy say, this year, 1 Super Bowl. And I'm older, and you'd think I'd be more desperate, but I'm not. I kind of like how the Steelers matter every single year. I like how the Packers are a threat every single year. So we'll see what happens this year. Aiden Hutchinson's coming back, fully healthy, looking like a beast. Tyleik Williams is interior D-line, but Za'Darius got signed. So we should be looking good. It's talk like this that makes me realize we can have a real political discussion, you know? And so I'm going to do a couple things. When I'm wearing these aviators, it's a character I call Bird Dog. And when I take them off, I do regular, straight political coverage. But I want it to be more educated, and I want it to be sounding like me, if you know what I mean. And so when we talk about, do we mortgage the future, trade for one last superstar, lockdown corner, pass rusher, one boss, we can be smart. Is this an appropriate American democracy right now, or is it not? And the way we discuss things on sports radio makes me think we can talk politics. The Rooney Rule is DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. I got it. But it's the Rooney Rule. Started in 2003. In the beginning, there was football, and football was dominated by the Ivy League schools, actually. And then Jim Thorpe came in and whooped them. But for the longest time, football, like everything else in society, was played by white men who were in control. And then they started integrating black players, Hispanic players, players from overseas. But the owners of the NFL teams were what? Rich old white men. And so when it was time to interview, the rich old white men would sit at their desk in their office and call in head coaching candidates. And who would they hire? Old white men. So the owner, the Rooney Rule, I don't remember Mr. Rooney's first name, but he was the owner of the Steelers. And he was on the diversity committee, and he said the Steelers had Mike Tomlin, but Dennis Green had been fired for having successful seasons. Was it Mike Sherman too? Jim Caldwell got fired after a successful Lions season. Not good enough. Bring in Matt Patricia. There you go. DEI says you're not hiring Matt friggin' Patricia just because he's an old white guy, a young white guy from the Patriot way. No, the Rooney Rule says if you are hiring for a head coaching candidate of your NFL team, maybe consider someone who doesn't look like me. Let's include diversity. Let's have inclusion. Let's have equity. If the bulk of players are non-white, why are the coaches mostly white? Why are the owners mostly white? That's all it is. It's not the worst thing in the world. Jalen Hurts finally shut up the critics. Donovan McNabb could not. But they're good quarterbacks. And you know that when we go into those discussions, it matters. It's still there. Jalen Hurts can't win the big one. Donovan McNabb can't win the big one. We know what they mean when they say stuff like that. The NFL at one time was the nonprofit football league. The IRS considered the NFL a charity that gave away. It was a nonprofit. Are you shitting me? Found your deep state. And a buddy, he's all queuing on, yeah, the vampires and the caves and the baby. No, the deep state is rich old white guys paying off powerful white guys until the rich are powerful and the powerful are rich. There's your deep state. Solved it. But no, the NFL was a non-profit charity, according to the IRS. And then as Roger Goodell's paycheck went up and up and up, because that charity was raking in so much money, they said, yeah, the publicity isn't worth it. Maybe we should fix that. So they rescinded their nonprofit status, thanks to who I assume an investigative reporter who found that out, who figured that out. Thank you. The NFL is not a charity. They don't give anything away. They sell everything. If anything's given away, they sue the you know what out of the people who try to profit off the NFL when the NFL is the only one that should profit. It's wild. You got the NFLPA taking care of the players' likenesses to be sold. What about salary caps? College football, no salary cap. NFL, salary cap. Which product do you like better? You like the NCAA? Like whoever spends the most gets the best team? 1-year commitments only? Because after Citizens United, that's kind of what we have in this American democracy. There is no salary cap for the Republicans. There is no salary cap for the Democrats. Whoever spends the most gets the office. Citizens United made it so. Do you understand that? Does that make sense? I kind of like it better with a salary cap, if I'm being honest. I like watching Brad Holmes work. Yeah, DEI. Maybe you should hire Brad Holmes, even though he's, not Bob Quinn or Matt Patricia. Those two geniuses from the Patriot way. Good grief. Jim Caldwell was a good coach. Brad Holmes is a great GM. So what? We can get more equal, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I kind of ran out of energy on that one. That didn't go well. I'll work on it. But no, that's how we look at DEI. That's how we look at the deep state. That's how we look at political spending. Should the Republicans or the Democrats be able to buy elections by spending the most cash on commercials? Or do we salary cap it, make it 50-50, and the better ideas should win? We could do public financing of elections. You get to spend a fair amount. So does your opponent. Spend it getting your message out there. So sick of gerrymandering districts when the politicians are choosing their voters instead of voters choosing their politicians. I liked ranked choice voting a lot for that reason. But that's going to be the other side. When I take the aviators off, this is going to be my cue. I'm going to spend some time talking about men's mental health and other things, kind of broing out. But I'm also going to take the aviators off and do a straight politics news show, because I think that's important. My buddy in the National Guard is a Packer fan, and that's okay. He also votes opposite of how I vote, and that's okay. We can work together. We both want what's best for our son. His son's a couple years older than my son. He loves this country, and I love this country. So I think this bird dog idea could go somewhere. Hopefully a nice young lady in your life sent you here, introduced you to the bird dog. And then if you like what you see, stick around. Join us for more. If it's not your thing, go in peace. That's all good. As a teacher, I can really, really appreciate the higher level thinking that goes with football fandom. I talked about earlier, the Woodward heavyweights were discussing whether to mortgage the future for this year's Super Bowl or to work towards sustained success. And the argument gets in depth, and they're very, very smart, and listeners are very smart. And as a teacher, I know that evaluation is higher order thinking. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to get my kids to do higher order thinking. And I realized a couple years ago, the mock draft is where it's at. If I had not 9-year-olds, if I had high schoolers, if I had middle schoolers, I would totally make an assignment. Write up an opinion piece on mock draft for your favorite team. Who'd you choose and why? Shamar Stewart, the edge? Any of the other edges? Tyreek Williams? How wrong is Brad Holmes this year? No. But I spend a lot of time reading mock drafts, and then I spend a lot of time on mock draft simulators, and then I evaluate whether I made the right choices, whether I didn't. And I think that could absolutely be incorporated, but I can't do that in my current classroom. So if this ever blows up, if anyone ever wants Bird Dog extra credit, write up a mock draft for your team. Maybe I'll get picked up by Khan Academy or Michigan Virtual. Not Michigan Learning Channel. I think that was PBS. There's a lot of smarts to be had. Sometimes I'd like to do an extra credit March Madness bracket. Read as much as you can read, pay attention as much as you can pay attention. The more right you are, the smarter you are. Some people can do that with brains. Maybe that's why the online gambling, the sports betting's getting so big. I cannot do that. My pride can't handle it. If I'm willing to bet on another human, I better know what's about to happen, and I can't do that. So I'm lucky there. But this is it. I'm starting on this bird dog adventure. Welcome to it. I hope it's your thing. If it's not your thing, that's just fine. But I'd like to inject some reality back into the system. Social media's gotten out of hand. It's gone stupid. I'm going to try to be an adult who goes viral. And I want to introduce you to my personal side, my business side, so that when I say something is true, you guys can believe it. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who lie. And they get richer and richer by lying. And me, I'm broke. Been teaching for 19 years. Drive a 2008 Toyota Corolla to work. I want to fix that. Things used to be better. Grandpa retired with dignity. Grandpa retired to Phoenix. Oh man, could have taken my kid to a Cardinals game, drive from Apache Junction, Arizona to Phoenix. Cardinals, Lions. That would have been killer. But something's changed. And when I take the aviators off, I'm going to look at what that was. I'll give you a hint. Top marginal tax rate and stock buybacks. But this is old Bird Dog signing off. If you'd like to see some of the other work, I'd love to have you. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.